Right, let's hope this works. Welcome back to the NOTCAST number 429 or thereabouts. When I started off, I did say I was going to be going on holiday. When I was on holiday, I wouldn't tell you, but there would be signs. Well, I am telling you, I am off this week, and the signs are more NOTCASTs. And today, smash hits, silly questions is what I'm going to be talking about. Now, I'm in a bad mood today. Two films. One, I've already filmed this twice, and it's failed due to technical reasons. One, my own. One caused by a malfunctioning setting somewhere deep inside Google Gemini's bullshit. The second one is that I've had a rough week. I've had a stressful week, and I need to think about something that doesn't take a huge amount of brain power this week. So I have been dealing with a matter of some importance that relates to another person. By the way, in case any of you are wondering, I'm not in trouble. I'm happy. I'm healthy. And I'm, as Frank Turner sang in Photosynthesis, happy and settled in the person that I have become. And that means sometimes you have to do difficult stuff and stand up for yourself when other people don't respect your boundaries. I've told other people my boundaries. They haven't listened. So I've enforced those boundaries. And one of those people is probably watching this right now, at which point, that's weird of you. Get a life. I know that feels very William Shatner of me, but hey, I've probably got more hair than the Shat has. So there you are. I did one of these for episode 400 where I did the first 2 pages of questions in the Smash Hits Ask a Silly Question. And now I'm on the next 2 pages, and I probably will do the next 4 over the next half hour or so. Again, no idea if this is of any interest to anybody. There's probably a couple of you that are watching this that go, I don't even like this guy. If you don't, watch something else. The world's a big place. There's plenty of space for everybody. And if you do, brilliant, that's fantastic. Mine's a hot chocolate when you see me. Let's get started, shall we? So some of the questions is, have you any nice crockery? Well, the answer is no, because I don't have a Pet Shop Boys £650 tea set, because that is bullshit. I, on the other hand, have favourite spoons, favourite forks, favourite knives, because they're the right size for my face. So the spoons that I have, for example, 1mm, 2mm, too small for my mouth. So they're just the right size to fill it up and then put it in there and, eat. And they're my forks, they're just right. It's got the right number of forks, which should be 4. The knives have the right number of serrated edges, and they're just the right sharpness so that they won't kill you, that type of stuff. So I don't have any nice crockery. Got a couple of mugs, including a broken Pet Shop Boys mug that I was posted by Jen. Hi Jen, thanks for sending me a 1988 Pet Shop Boys mug. As you know, unfortunately the Royal Mail broke it, and I'm legally prevented from telling anybody a negative opinion about the Royal Mail, so I won't. However, it is not inconsistent with my behaviour of how the Royal Mail treats things, people and objects. I also have plates. I think I've had the same plates for like 15 years. I've got bowls. I've got favourite bowls because they're just the right size. And one of the things that really, really matters is portion size. Portion size is super, super important to make sure that you're not constantly snacking, that you're not eating something that's too big or too small, that you don't have leftovers. So portion size is really important. Plates are really important to get those to be the right size. But no, nice crockery, no, I haven't. Not really, that's not my type of thing. Next question, and this is from answered by Morrissey, is have you ever placed a Lonely Hearts ad? Well, Morrissey's answer was, I'm dying of loneliness and need to be rescued or else I'll sink into obscurity. I am mad, ugly, spotty and totally odorous, to which apparently he got no reply. I haven't placed a Lonely Hearts ad because... Well, firstly, nobody ever does that these days. Secondly, all dating is on apps and stuff. And thirdly, I believe in serendipity, that concept of just going out and living your life and meeting somebody and having those experiences without necessarily seeking them in an active fashion. I have failed a couple of times, most definitely. But no, I haven't placed Lonely Hearts ads. Did you ever phone a number at random and annoy the person at the other end? Well, Tanita Tickerham did, but I didn't because I'm not a wanker. Sorry, Tanita, I'm sure you're lovely. I've never seen any point in picking a set of random phone numbers and annoying somebody at the other end to see what's in there. I mean, just why, right? Why? I just don't get it. But so be it. I am old or boring, depending on your point of view. Have you ever been so violently sick that your earrings fell off? Well, no, I've never had earrings, never dyed my hair. So that's one thing. The other one is I've never been that violently sick. The last time I was sick was alcohol induced. Yes, I admit it. And I was in my 20s by I had about 1 or 2 days left of my 20s. And I made a split-second decision to be sick in the bath instead of sick in the toilet. I regret that decision even now, because I remember the next day when I had to sober up and was cleaning all of my vomit out of the bath. It was disgusting, and I'm sorry to me, and always will be about that. Where do all the missing persons in the world go? Well, according to Patsy Kensit, there's a creature that eats them. But Patsy Kensit isn't strictly correct, because I've got all the missing pens in the world. These are my pens, and that is a hill that I will die on. I love black pens. I love gel ink. My favourite size is 0.5 millimeters. These are the business when it comes to pens, and writing in colours that aren't black just feels weird and wrong. I know some people do. Teachers tend to do it in green because that's a safer, happier colour than black, but I am definitely going for that. And have you ever thought that the world was just a little crouton floating in God's minestrone cup of soup? Well, the answer to that is yes, because of a number of things. The first one is Terry Pratchett got it absolutely right. We are all just creatures living in a world on the back of a turtle floating through space. That's exactly the right answer. And that is the universe we exist in. The second one, as Douglas Adams said, is if you think it's a long way down to the shops, that's just peanuts compared to space. Space is big, so vastly, mind-bogglingly big, etc., etc. And if you look at that picture of the galaxy, which the astronomers have prepared, and you think about how big that is and how small we are, we're not even 1 pixel on that, and that's everything in our galaxy. Everyone who's ever fallen in love, born, lived, loved, died, every war, it's all meaningless. I mean, you can do the Bill and Ted thing and go, all we are is just dust in the wind, dude. But probably more accurately, we are just people doing people things. And it is an enormous universe out there. And oh my God, there's only one of me. So that is, the answer to that. We are just croutons in God's minestrone cup of soup. But at the same point, the size of something is different to everybody who's involved in it. Everyone's individual experience, even if exactly the same event, is different by their placement within it. So, for example, are you... I think I'm going to have to use a specific real-world example here. Are you the person who cheated, or the person who was cheated on, or are you, the other person in the equation who was, having both at the same time? There's still only one core event that exists at the heart of that. There's 3 extremely different perspectives that sit in that, for example, and that's where you get to the point of thinking, well, yeah, even objectively, all humans can experience exactly the same events and have very, very different worldviews, very different experiences of those events. Like, for example, someone who's perpetrating abuse versus the person that's receiving the abuse. There's a very different relationship between the same core event between, the person that was the perpetrator and the person that was, quote, the victim, unquote. And those are very different experiences to have. And obviously the perpetrator has a very different experience of that and can forgive themselves far more easily because they're the one that made the decisions throughout the process, and they're the one who probably had a less severe experience, I think it's fair to say, around it, because at any point they could have stopped, whereas the person that was the victim couldn't have. Although obviously there are things that they can do and do as adults that are important. Have you accidentally swallowed a fly? No, not a fly. I've accidentally swallowed a daddy long legs coming out of a Woolworths in Birmingham in 1988 or 1989. Oh, God, that was horrible because I was yawning as I was coming out. Well, as you know, I've already got a big mouth. Oh, my, I've got to yawn now. Oh, yeah, it's 10. That's acting. 10. And then daddy long legs kind of went in and I could feel it kind of. And I was like, It's horrible, and do not recommend at all. Do you think flowers scream when you pick them? Well, I don't know. Truth be told, if they do, it's in an inaudible way. Humans can't hear them. What is your least favourite expression? Fair play is my least favourite expression. It doesn't express anything to me. What does that mean? I don't know. It's not a good expression. Do you know what I mean? That's probably my least favourite expression apart from that. Do you know what I mean? It's also probably one of my least favourite Oasis singles. I'll be talking about that in due course as well. What did you have for breakfast this morning? Same thing I do every night, Pinky. Try and take over the world. Oops. Oh, sorry. I meant to say what I normally have for breakfast, which is shreddies, shredded wheat, milk, a chocolate muffin, and some pills to do things like keep my bloods working, keep my bits of my digestive system working, make sure that I'm not too short on vitamins and things like that. So, and you know, that's my daily breakfast, and it's lovely. Really works for me. What keeps you awake at night? Well, Shirley from Pepsi Shirley says sneezing. I think I'm allergic to beds, and that is. And let me quickly check. That's 7 words. My answer is going to be longer than that. What keeps me awake at night? Well, I have intrusive thoughts. I have a very busy mind. And sometimes when I'm problem solving at the end of the day, when the fog clears of life and everything kind of stops, you end up being in a position where you can see clarity, you can see through to whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever the problem is, if that's an individual, personal, financial, whatever the problem is. Late at night is when everything kind of clears away and I do my best work. I do my best creativity late at night. I'm doing my best writing late at night. I normally get an idea that pops into my head, and normally when it comes to an idea is a word or it's a sentence, and then suddenly everything falls around it. Sometimes I just need to see the one sentence clearly, the one line, and then everything around it builds organically and it comes very, very quickly. It's normally built upon a series of things that I've been thinking and feeling for a period of time, or an idea that I've had in my head that's been inspired by something that I've seen, and then all of a sudden it's there and it just unfolds. It's like as if the scene in Galaxy Quest, when we go from the 4-3 scene of the TV show to the the 185, and then that suddenly goes, oh, okay, so you're in the real world, not in television. And then actually in Galaxy Quest, and this is clever, in Galaxy Quest, when they then go into outer space, the aspect ratio changes a third time. I think it's 2.35 to 1. Never goes back. It's like, that is very sneaky, very clever, and something that you wouldn't really know, but has definitely been thought about up here. And by the way, that's not Eddie Murphy, okay? In case you think that guy's Eddie Murphy, it isn't Eddie Murphy. So what keeps you awake at night is intrusive thoughts sometimes, and that's thoughts about, for example, and I remember specifically thinking about this a long time ago when I'd split up with somebody, and that somebody was with somebody else, or had started going out with somebody else, and I was kind of going, I'm here trying to go to bed. Are they lying next to the person that they loved after me? Are they having sex with the person for the first time after me? What are they doing? Are they getting dressed? Are they putting on their bra? Are they, what are they doing? And that's intrusive thoughts. And, there's been times when I know something's been happening, and my brain has gone, right about now, that is happening. And I'm like, I don't want to know about that. What's the look on their face? What are they doing? How are they behaving? And that's not necessarily a healthy place to be in terms of your brain. But brains are rarely healthy and often don't listen to us. So that is one of the things that I do have, is I have intrusive thoughts. And what I try to do is to relax and feel into that. So that's what keeps me awake at night. There's also a thing called catastrophizing, where you end up going, oh, but this happens, then that happened, then that happened, then it's the end of the world. Those type of things are things that are real and that can happen as well. So that's what keeps me awake at night, is intrusive thoughts, worrying, and creativity. If you had 15 minutes to live, what would you do? Well, I don't know. Is it 15 minutes for everyone, or is it just 15 minutes just for me? If it's 15 minutes just for me, I think I could ring a couple of people, text a couple of people, that type of thing. If it's everyone's dying in 15 minutes, it doesn't bloody matter, does it? Because everyone's having the same thing. And if you try and call somebody and go, hey, dude, I love you, or whatever, They're not going, or probably not a dude actually, they aren't going to answer the phone because they've only got 15 minutes left to live. And what's the point of leaving them a message? So you focus on where you are and who's around you. So I don't really know. Right, did you ever pull the legs off a daddy long legs? Now this is answered by Philip Schofield. And Philip Schofield is in the unwise but not illegal era of his life. And he said, I never did that, but I did buy the top of a rabbit's ear off once. Well, Phil, you absolute whopper. No. And I've never pulled the legs off a daddy long legs because I'm not a psychopath. That's how it starts, right? Kids tear wings off butterflies and things. And then next time you know, it ends up they've got heads in their fridges. So, no. What are your ambitions? Well, Toya wants to be an astronaut or a member of the SAS. My ambitions are bigger and smaller. I want to be happy. We don't get a choice about whether we're alive. We don't get a choice about the world that we're born into. We don't get a choice about the country that we're born into, our skin colour, our eye colour, whether we've got hair, gender. We don't get choices like that at birth. You can buy contact lenses, you can do other stuff, sure, but we don't get a choice about that. So what I want to do more than anything else is to be happy, because life is a very long time. It's long, and it's also the longest thing you'll ever do, but it's very, very short at the same time. I'm reminded of the quote at the beginning of Archives of Pain by the Manic Street Preachers: when I die, two things are going to happen. One, I want to change everything, and two, I want to live my whole life all over again. That would be the thing. So my ambition is to be happy, to enjoy the world that I live in on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis, and to feel that I've lived a good life, that I've made the world a better place, and that the people that are around me and the people I'm around, we make each other happy. Really, really important to get that, because if you don't get that, ultimately, you get nothing. Bob Orsi, the guy that worked on the Star Trek movies, died, I think, yesterday. And, the only thing I remember about Bob Orsi, he was rude. And he was rude, and he commented on a Star Trek blog saying, face it, you are the most listened to people in the world. And he also says, and there's a reason why I make these movies and you don't. Well, the reason, Bob, is you're an asshole, okay? And that's what people remember about you. So my ambitions are, well, don't go being a twat now, as Hot Fuzz had it, and to be happy as best as one can be in this world. Have you ever hit your sister with a wet fish? Well, Tracy from Voice of the Beehive, no. But her sister, Melissa, used to have a dried stingray and chase her around the house with it. I've never hit my sister with a fish because I don't have a sister. I've never hit my brother, at least not that I can recall. I really don't think I have, and definitely not with a wet fish. The idea has definitely occurred to me, and it's always been something I could have done, but I don't think I did. And if I did, well, he probably, frankly, given his behaviour, was not asking for it, but it probably wasn't undeserved. How would you describe yourself? Well, Alana Curry from the Thompson Twins says, a sleazy, funky, low-down woman. I am neither of those things, none of those things. I am neither sleazy, nor funky, nor low-down, nor a woman. So I describe myself as I am myself. And knowing yourself is the biggest thing that you can do. If you don't know yourself, you don't know anything. You can't be authentic and true to yourself. And there's only one you. So you might as well drill down to what that is and go, right, that's me as good as I can be, and live with that. What were you in a previous life? Don't know, really. Maybe I quote the New Order's Bizarre Love Triangle video here and go, I refuse to believe in reincarnation because I refuse to come back as a bug or an insect. Dun, 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 dun. And then, of course, some fantastic electro pop will happen. No, I don't know. Why do you wear men's suits? Well, Annie Lennox said because she wanted to look like a white Grace Jones. I wear men's suits occasionally because I want to look dapper as heck. And sometimes a suit is exactly and only and precisely what you need. Nothing else will do the job. But I don't believe in the gender restrictions of particular clothing. I haven't worn a skirt, but I've worn a kilt. Well, that's quite nice. I don't think that the clothing should really do anything, really, apart from please the person that wears it. So, if you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt and a cardigan, like I do, well, hello, I'm middle-aged. That's the law. The second thing is, it doesn't matter, does it? What really matters is, are you comfortable to express who you are? Do you wear them and think, yeah, that's me? And if it's a Superdry t-shirt, fine, but you can't name 3 songs by Superdry, can you? But also, if that's what makes you happy, do it. I think. Do you know anyone called Tarquin? Phil Collins says, I think there's someone called Tarquin that works at our record company. I don't know anyone called Tarquin. Did you take sandwiches to school or have school dinners? School dinners? Yeah, my mate's mum was a school dinner lady. How often did you cut your toenails and where do you put the clippings? They asked that of Nick Rhodes of Duran Duran. The idea that Nick Rhodes even has toenails is bizarre and I don't want to entertain it. What I do want to do, though, is to go when I feel like it and I put them in the bin. Let's not do that. What TV programme do you always have to turn off? Rick Parfitt from Status Quo says Coronation Street. Me, Mrs. Brown's Boys, because it's a bag of shit. Do you pick the white stringy bits off oranges before you eat them? Again, this is a question for the Roger Taylor that isn't in Queen, the one in Duran Duran. My answer is no and yes. I don't pick them off, and yes, I do eat them. Although, if I had to, I'd always eat a strawberry. Did you ever play an angel in the school nativity? Boy George played Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit. So, yeah. Miscast, I suspect. Whereas I never played the angel in the school nativity. I never played anything in anything. I didn't even get to play the bad guy in Shane, and I'd practiced the line, hold him. I really had that line in Shane burned into me, going, that's the line that I want to say, but I could never do it. Do you snore? Well, Divine says that they used to. I think I do. I snore less now I've lost some weight. So for those of you who've been watching this for a while, I did lose some weight probably about 15 months ago. That's generally stayed off. Apparently I look healthy and happy and stuff, which is nice. Thank you for those of you that noticed. I snore less now, possibly not at all. But obviously every time I do, I'm asleep. I don't know. And I don't tend to check. And I don't tend to share a bed. So, I can't necessarily say if I snore or if I don't. What I can say is historically, I have. Who would you most like to be stuck in a lift with? Well, Marilyn would like to be stuck with Sylvester Stallone. I would like to be stuck with a lift repairman. How boring is that? Do you think meat is murder? Truth be told, yeah, it probably is, isn't it? How much would you have to be paid to pose in the nude? £3.5 million. I've given this some thought. £3.5 million. Hardly anybody cares what I look like, nude, including myself. £3.5 million is enough money for me to never work again. So £3.5 million is the answer. Jimmy Nail is asked, why do so many girls fancy you? I can't answer that because I don't think anyone does. If you do, fantastic. You've got fantastic taste. But also that could be awkward depending on who you are. And I don't know. There is the answer. And what is your goal in life? Well, Dee Snyder from Twisted Sister, who, by the way, is fantastic value on Twitter if you're still on that Nazi hellscape, is to breed dogs and open an exotic pet store. My goal in life is to make the world as good a place as I can do through the things that I do and say. Haven't always succeeded, generally tried to. Who was your first crush? On a screen, it was probably Sophie Aldrin from Doctor Who. In person, it was a woman called Helen at school. And she knew. And as far as I can tell, she was a generally lovely human being. And I hope she still is. I haven't seen her for 32 years. Not that you'll be watching this, but if you are, I hope everything's worked out for you. Has anyone told you that you look a bit like Beethoven? Well, Fergal Sharkey says yes. I say no, unless you're talking about Beethoven the dog. Do you ever cut yourself shaving? Paul King from King says lots of times. Me, hardly ever, truth be told. Very, very rarely. When I moved over to the electric shaver, that dramatically reduced the amount of shaving cuts that I had. Do you mow your own lawn? Yes, I do. When the weather's better, and it is boring. Boring, boring, boring. What's your favourite hat? Well, Madonna says a sailor's cap, but for me, it's actually a train driver's hat with a peak on it and like the round edge with the bit that's on there. It's really important, if you can, to find a hat that suits you and to wear it well. The Edge from U2, one of the world's best hat wearers. Harrison Ford, fantastic hat wearer. Lemmy from Metallica, undoubtedly the best hat wearing person in the universe. And it's important to have a good hat. So there you go. Maybe my favourite hat is Lemmy's hat. And have you ever written a fan letter? Well, DC Lee wrote loads to Michael Jackson, and well, I didn't write any to Michael Jackson. I remember writing a couple, normally asking specific questions about specific things. One of which was, I wrote to Jim Bob from Carter asking if the BBC radio sessions were going to be released, to which the answer was no, and I don't have the letter, so I don't know what happened to it now. Right. Did you know that the world's longest parsnip was nearly 12 foot long? No, and neither does Hazel Dean. Would you say you had any eccentricities? Well, Andrew Ridley from Wham has a fetish about clean hands. I, on the other hand, I don't think they're eccentricities. I think they're completely normal and everybody else is wrong. So again, quoting Douglas Adams, I'm probably nearer to Wonko the Sane, who regards himself as sane and everybody outside of his house as totally barking mad. So I don't think they're eccentricities. And as Haruki Murakami said, I'm not so weird to me. So yeah, probably. I mean, I like the law of right angles, which is that everything's got to be at a right angle to so for example, if it's a table, everything has to be at a right angle to it, unless it's defined by the scope of the walls around it. So for example, if you put something against the wall but it's in a monsel fort, it can't be straight, because monsel forts are circular, they're like castle turrets, so therefore it can't be straight. But by and large, generally things should obey the rule of right angles. If you could contact one dead person in a seance and have a chat with them, who would you choose? Well, Nick Rhodes says Jean Cocteau. I say my mum. And what is your most disgusting habit? Well, Mick Hucknall says picking his toenails. I think being Mick Hucknall itself is probably a pretty disgusting habit. So my most disgusting habit is I like to scratch my ears and I like to scratch my nose. Which member of Duran Duran would you most like to play golf with? Well, Nasha from Frankie Goes to Hollywood would like to play golf with Andy Taylor. Which member of, I would probably, I think probably, not the guy that was American that had a bust of his conch made. Warren Castillo, I think. Not him. I would probably most like to play golf with, probably Simon Le Bon, I think. What does Boy George remind you of? Bilbo Baggins, obviously. And have you got one of those flush things that you hang down the loo? Richard Butler from the Psychedelic Furs says no, he doesn't trust blue water. I say no, because blue flush things are ancient. And have you ever done a jigsaw puzzle in hospital? Well, the short answer to that is no, because I've never actually done an overnight stay in a hospital. Now, I've stayed in hospitals overnight, but I've never slept in hospitals. I've never been bored enough to do jigsaws. There was one time when my partner was giving birth and I was awake for 3 days solid because it was a very long labour. That was a very long time ago. There was a time when my mum had a heart attack and I pulled an all-nighter starting at about 2:45 in the evening and finishing at about 11 o'clock the next morning. That was exciting. Well, exciting covers a multitude of sins. And then there's a time when I had the... I can't remember what they're called now. I think it's a psychogenic seizure in August 2021, where I blacked out, and then I stayed up all night until probably 11, 12, 2, 5, something like that the next day. You know, way into the next day. I thought I was due to go to sleep, and I didn't go to sleep, and in the end I didn't sleep for something like 40 hours. That was unpleasant. Do not recommend. There are 2 more pages of questions like this. I'm going to save them for another episode when I can't be bothered to do a random record rummage, no longer known as random record Russian roulettes, and when I can't be bothered to talk about a band that I love, like, loathe, or generally am quite knowledgeable about. Although the next one, I think I know what the next one's going to be about. Are you sure? But you'll find out shortly. In the meantime, of course, to quote Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other, stay beautiful, and I will see you somewhere over the rainbow. Bye.